Hello friends and welcome back to Figure Study, where we're taking a look at another one of the Ocular Max Assaultus Combiner team. In particular, we are looking at Volatus, their version of Blastoff, and this is something that actually took me by surprise. So, okay, as I'm sure it will shock no one to know, I don't have a big attachment to the Combaticons. I probably said as much in the video for Incursus, which is their Onslaught. I just like this set from what I've seen. They look fun. And Volatus here, he looked like the absolute messiest of all of them. And to a degree he is. I mean, this shuttle is colored nicely and proportioned pretty well, and I like the look of it. It's just, it's covered in panels and panel lines. Like, it is so messy. The same kind of can be said for the robot mode as well, and so I was kind of thinking that, I'd get him mostly to be an arm, but, it'll be fun to mess with regardless. Then I got him, and I started transforming him, and he is astonishingly fun. There's just something about this. Yes, it's a little bit aesthetically messy with like all the panels and stuff like that, and in robot mode too, and I'll get into that when we get into the robot mode, but he's just fun. He's a not cheap third-party collector's item that can be a shuttle, a robot, and an arm with all of the bits built in, so like he's got the fist built in and all that, but he's a fun toy. A really fun toy. This might be the most fun I've had with a third-party figure ever since I've started collecting third-party figures. I could be wrong. There are an awful lot of third-party figures that I've had over the years and that I still have, but in at least a more current sense, in the past year, Volatus here has been the most fun I've had with a figure. And it's just something about the way he transforms and the way everything comes together in all the modes that appeals to me on some weird base level. I don't know how else to explain it. I just love this thing. It's absolutely got its flaws, but I absolutely love it. Now, as is typical of Blastoff, he is a brown and purple shuttle. That's just how he do. The deco is nice, and when you look at it from a distance, I kind of like how the color is separated with like the, I guess these are technically the flaps on the backs of the wings being brown, part of the back of the engines and the tail being brown, and then a different shade of brown, very, very dark brown for the top part and a little bit of the nose area, and then like a kind of very dark bluish black for the wings, and then this purple that goes all the way up and around. And it's a little awkward how there's this little strip up here, but that's necessary for the robot mode, so whatever. And then like the nose cone section has 5 different colors, 6 if you count the windows. And yeah, this is all over the place colors-wise, and the distribution of the colors is definitely weird, but I can't help but like it. I like the shape of the shuttle, and I can easily kind of ignore the mess back here in terms, in favor of how much fun this guy is to mess with. He actually rolls really well on those tiny wheels. That's kind of incredible. I don't know, I really like this space shuttle. It's so much fun. I feel like I've been doing a really bad job of keeping my videos on the decent length side, so we're just going to launch right into the size comparisons. No pun intended, though it probably should have been intended. Here he is with the standard deluxe squad, and you can see that he's actually pretty big shuttle, comparatively. Though, rather ridiculously, he is way smaller than Incursus. Let me adjust. There we've got Incursus, there we've got Volatus, and yeah, that scale is completely ridiculous, but that is kind of how it's supposed to be for, like, toys in the cartoon, I guess? I do want to put Volatus on the back of Incursus, but in order to do that, I'm going to need to do the extendo thing. And I wanted to talk about this because I completely did not realize this when I did the video on Incursus, but there's a little button back here. This little tab-looking thing that when you push that down, it makes it so much easier to disengage this. You don't have to, like, yank and worry about breaking things. And that gives you that free swinging trailer kind of thing. So yeah. Did not know that that was a button. Now I know, and I feel much better about life because I don't have to worry about breaking Incursus when I give him a trailer. Okay, so bringing Volatus back in here, just plop him down, and I don't know if this is the way to do it, but this is the way that I like to do it. You just kind of get this front landing gear propped right in front of this ridge on the back trailer here. Get that lined up, and that way he won't just like slide off. That works pretty darn well. There we go. So there is Incursus pulling Volatus, or Onslaught pulling Blastoff. And another thing that I really think is clever about Volatus here is he's balancing on those wheels. And, you know, he's got those wheels back there, and there's so much shuttle hanging off the back of Incursus here. It would make me worry about the shuttle possibly toppling and falling off, but this is so cleverly done. The center of gravity with where the weight distribution is on these wheels, in particular where the wheels, the back wheels are, means that this guy is not going to fall off. Like, you have to go back really far to get him to tip over. Like he... Essentially nothing short of an earthquake will make this guy fall off of Incursus' trailer, or somebody extremely violently bumping the shelf. But point is, he's not going to fall off. That's really, I don't know, this is something so silly and mundane, but it really impresses me how well they ended up balancing the shuttle mode on those wheels. Okay, let me get everything resituated here, because we still have at least one more size comparison to do. So, Volatus back there. Okay. And here he is with the duck tank. Okay, so, as was the case with Incursus, I'm going to be saving the combined mode transformations until I have the entire team and can just do them all for part of the combined mode video. So we're only going to be looking at the robot mode in addition to the shuttle, which we've already looked at. Sorry if you want to see the combined mode transformation, but as I said, I just want to wait till I have the whole team. Anyway, robot mode. And there we have Volatus, aka Blastoff, in his robot mode. And again, this is messy. It's definitely messy. There's a lot of weird paneling and seams and all of that all over this figure. I acknowledge that. But I don't care, because he's just fun to mess with. Yes, he has all of these screws and pins and nondescript details, and there's like a little bit of molding, but most of it is just folded up panels in the legs. The waist, midsection, torso area is a little bit better, but again, you've still got like all of these visible pins and whatnot, which may look better with a little bit of paint, I don't know, but regardless, he is messy looking, yes, but he still hits that Blastoff style where you've got the brown and grayish black robot with a couple of hits of purple here and there, including his little booster feet, and he even has his little tail fin backpack that doesn't like to peg together super well. It's really easy to get that unpegged. I might need to either tighten the hinges or tighten the peg itself, but still, it's cute. And with regards to these things, I've found that like some people have complained about how they're really easy to kind of bump around and how annoying that is. I've found that if you turn them in like this, yeah, it's not the cleanest, but like it covers up more of that back. It sits a little more flush to the back, and it just kind of sits really nicely. It's really hard to bump these out of place when they're here. The only problem being this one, because this panel's just a little loose when it's in this position, but this one is like, you can't just bump that out of place. So yeah, if you're having some issues with like having these guys sitting like this, just tuck them in like that. Anyway, the proportions are pretty nice for what they are. It's absolutely critical to do the hip thing, and I've seen mention that a fair number of people, not a fair number of people, but some people have missed this, and it has created problems where if you leave the hips in like they're supposed to be for the vehicle and combine mode, it looks really, really weird. So you just want to fold these out right up here, and then fold them down here, and that will give him much more normal looking spacing on the hips, and that works so much better. It is kind of easy to put them back, like shift them back in, but it's also pretty easy to shift them back out. He's just fun to mess with. I enjoy that transformation. There's a lot of cleverness to it, including using the folded up tail fin to hide the fists. You can also kind of break this joint that was used for transformation to get an ankle tilt, like that. You just have to make sure to pop this up, otherwise it's not going to work. You can use that as an ankle tilt, but it sits so high up on the leg and it breaks the sculpt even worse that I personally never use it. The option's there, and if you want to use it, you know, no one's stopping you. But I am fine with him not having ankle tilts. I feel like he's got a wide enough foot base here that like it's fine. And you can angle his toes down to kind of make it look a little bit more like he's flush on the ground. I just don't care. He's just too much fun to mess with for me to worry about something that I consider trivial. Also, he's got an ab crunch, like in Cursus, so I can appreciate that as well. Pretty decent ab crunch too. Absolutely. No argument from me. He is messy. He's a messy looking robot. But he's also pretty darn neat. And I think when you get him with the rest of the team, he's also going to look really great. Let me give him his gun real quick. His gun's a little weird. There's this kind of tab on the back, and there's kind of a groove in here, but it's an open groove, so when you put the gun in, it just kind of sits there. It's not really like pegged in super solidly. It is frictioned in there really nice. It's not going to come out, but it's a little weird. Anyway, close his fist around that, and now he has his little bang bang shooter. Ordinarily, I'd go over the detail a little bit more, but as I said, most of the detail on this guy is just panels. So really the only new sculpted detail you get are the hip skirts down here and like a little bit of stuff in the torso. I do like what they did with the chest section. I also think this is really clever how this bit that was that awkward looking bit in the shuttle mode, it enables you to have this fold up and twist around. So the shuttle cockpit is actually inside his chest. And then because of the way everything is shaped, you end up with this divot. And so this just folds down and fills in that divot. And that's really clever. As for the head sculpt, it's a Blastoff looking head sculpt. From what I've managed to pick up from looking at the boards on TFW, I guess, this is how the Blastoff toy and cartoon was supposed to look. But there was a painting error for the toy that resulted in an animation error that just became his face for most of the show, where his entire face was basically painted gray, and this little sort of triangle bit, this brown bit right up here that would be like sitting between his eyebrows if he had them, that was painted in purple as his eyes. So they actually included an alternate head, here's a picture of it, where it's the same sculpt, but it's painted differently. On the one hand, it would have been cool if it was like an actual separate sculpt, but on the other hand, it's actually really clever because the alternate heads that Blastoff had originally were modeled exactly the same. They were just painted differently because of an animation error or a toy painting era, whichever one came first. I think it was the toy era that came first, but yeah, it's actually really clever. It's silly, and I vastly prefer this head over the other one, but I can appreciate the fact that they went the extra mile for that. Now this head in particular, I like how it's separated, like the brown kind of coming through along the sides in the middle, but then you've got the darker gray, black almost for the faceplate and the top of the head. Actually, they're two different shades. It's black for the faceplate and dark gray for the top of the head. It's not like they're very close in shade, but yeah, it's cool that they're separate. And you get those really nice purple eyes. I like that. Okay, so now that we've analyzed Volatus's very imperfect but very charming and fun robot mode, let's do some more size comparisons. Here he is with the standard deluxe crew, and he's quite large. Funny thing is, Incursus is very big, and he's definitely not as big as Incursus, but I was still surprised by how big the smaller robot was from this set. I think Fraudo, their Swindle, is the shortest out of all of them, but this is still really impressive how actually big this guy is. And of course, we've got to have him with his boo. Here is Volatus with Incursus, and yeah, to the top of the head, Incursus is gargantuan. Still, I really like this. I mean, it's definitely a pretty intense size discrepancy, but I think these two look incredibly good together. And, you know, just for the heck of it, grab some more Masterpiece-y style things. So here we've got Volatus with Masterpiece Soundwave, who's a little bit shorter than MP10, but you can kind of get an idea there. Here he is with the Magic Square Light of Justice Nemesis Colors version, so essentially MP10. Here he is with another Combiner Torso Boy, and that is Fans Toys Road King, their version of Motormaster, just because. Also just because, here he is with a Masterpiece Carbot, in this case G2 Sideswipe. Here he is with another Ocular Max figure, that is their Azalea Alternative, or RC. And finally, this is kind of funny because this is Ocular Max, this is Mastermind Creations, but they're technically the same company, but they're also completely different aesthetics and completely different lines. But anyway, here he is with the Duck Tank. And at long last, that is going to do it for Ocular Max's PS-16 Volatus, their Blastoff for their version of Bruticus. What else can I say except he's absolutely imperfect and absolutely a mess to look at, but he's also just so much fun to play with. The transformation is intricate-ish, but it makes a lot of sense, and I really like how certain panels flip around and hide. There's a lot of clever stuff going on here, especially considering they have to work around the built-in fists in the legs. He's really posable for what he is. He's just fun to mess with. He's fun to play with, fun to transform, really well made, really well designed. He's just messy. I'm willing to deal with the mess because he's just so much fun to mess with. That's a redundant usage of mess, but you know what I mean. But anyway, that is enough about what I think. What do you all think of Volatus/Blastoff? Whatever your thoughts, feel free to chime in down below. I always enjoy hearing from you all, and remember, art is more than meets the eye.